Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. We got our first snowfall yesterday here in Wisconsin. It's hopefully not going to stick around too much. We're actually supposed to get back into the 50s this upcoming weekend. So hopefully I can get out, do a little on the water filming before we do end up freezing over. This time of year is one of the best times to throw a jerkbait. You know, I think what we've come to realize, and I think a lot of us kind of knew this, but a jerkbait's a great year-round bait, but it excels so well during the cold water period. And I'm talking, you know, water temps that are generally in the 50s or colder. It's just one of the few baits that really generate strikes even in the most cold water temperatures. Just a lot better than a lot of other baits. So I figured what I would do today is go through some of the baits that I really like. I've got a handful of jerk baits here that I use in pretty much all the different situations that I run into when throwing jerk baits. So I wanted to share them with you. I'll put links for each of these in the video description in case you want to support the channel and use my Tackle Warehouse affiliate link, which, by the way, Tackle Warehouse is already doing their Black Friday sale. So you might want to check out the baits now because they might be on sale. I haven't looked. I don't know for sure, but they've got a lot of good items on sale at Tackle Warehouse currently. So let's break down these jerk baits. There is, in my opinion, no single jerkbait that will do the job everywhere you go. Choosing the right jerkbait generally comes down to water temperature. Is it a floater, suspender, or sinker? The size and profile of the bait. What's your water clarity that you're fishing? What is the cover that you're fishing? What type of bass are you fishing or other game fish are you fishing for? Because they all respond a little bit differently. So I personally don't believe there is one single jerkbait that's on the market that will do everything that you need it to do. Now, having said that, jerkbaits have come a long, long ways. You know, for a while, I think the kind of the gold standard was the Megabass Vision 110. At this point, I feel like there's a solid 5 or 6 different brands that make jerkbaits that are every bit as comparable to the Megabass one. Now, the Megabass one still very much catches fish, and I've actually got one here that I really like, and I'll mention that one. But first and foremost, if I'm just picking up any single jerkbait, I really, really like the Stunna series by Berkley, and I know there's going to be people out there like, Matt, you're sponsored by Berkley. I am sponsored by Berkley. This is a great jerkbait. It's one that generates a ton of bites. This is actually the 100 size, so this is the smaller one. I really like the 112 as well, which is the full size. So generally speaking, these are the two I grabbed. Now I want to point out one of the biggest reasons I really like this bait is because they get down deeper than most other jerk baits. These baits legitimately you can get down to about 10 feet on light line. I'm generally throwing my jerk baits on either 6 or 8 pound test, and I can consistently get these baits down. Now at the same time, they generally very slowly sink, which allows me to keep the bait down, and it also helps me get the bait even deeper if I want to get it down that deep. I love the motion on it. I generate a ton of strikes. To me, this is the one that I'm grabbing. You know, if you said pick one, this is the one that I'm grabbing right now, and it's not a shameless sponsor plug like a lot of you are thinking. So those are just kind of the first go-arounds. Now, in a lot of instances, I'm fishing shallower water. You know, in the springtime, you're talking about fish looking to absorb warmth. A lot of times they move up into bays that are only got a couple of feet of water in it. That's when I really like this guy. This is the Megabass Silent Riser. So this is the Vision 110 Silent Riser. What that means is it doesn't have a rattle and it slowly floats. So if I'm fishing shallow water and I bang the bottom, I can let that bait rise back up. It's a killer technique. It's a killer bait. Caught a ton of fish. I've won a lot of big local as well as regional tournaments on that technique, letting that rise. But it's very much a shallower water presentation where I can't throw some of the other jerk baits because they get too deep. That Silent Riser is really good with respect to that. Now, if I'm fishing watercolor that's a little bit more off color and I'm looking to move more water, I do really well on the Lucky Craft pointers. The pointer series is a great bait. It has a little bit more kick to it. Generally speaking, it's a little bit bigger frame. You move more water. You can see the body style on it. It's just a bigger profile bait. If I'm going to places that are more geared around bigger largemouth, you know, some of your Texas lakes, places like Gunnersville. I've done really well on the pointer series just because I think the water's a little bit more off color, and you're fishing around generally bigger fish that are keying in more on a lot of your gizzard shad. They like a bigger profile body. That's the one that I'm going to go with. Now, if I'm looking to really increase in size, this is one that I've caught some giant bass on. It's not one that I catch numbers on, but the Megabass Canada. And I've talked about this one on the channel before. Just a really big profile. Now, if I'm really trying to increase the overall size, I'm trying to catch a big kicker, or I'm around really big fish, the Canada is one that allows me to just present a jerkbait to them in a much larger form, and it generates a lot of strikes. It is very good at mimicking your gizzard shads. It's really good at just getting down to the depth that you're looking to. And for being a big bait, it's not an overpowering bait, meaning it's a pretty easy bait to work. And then last but not least, this is one that is kind of got a soft spot in me. The Smithwick Rattlin' Rogue is still one of the best jerkbaits that's made. Now, having said that, it is a difficult bait to cast. It does not cast well. They have not, it just does not cast well when you compare it to some of the ones that have internal weight transfer systems. But having said that, the Smithwick Rattlin' Rogue has something special about it, and it generates strikes. So it's usually, if I'm on a good jerkbait bite somewhere, I'll usually have one tied on just to kind of throw around at the same time. And it seems like sometimes that bait will generate more strikes than other baits. So I always like to have it on. But these are the ones that I kind of work into my jerkbait rotation. If I'm going out on the water and I know I'm going to be throwing jerkbaits, it is potentially possible for me to have a rod with every one of these baits tied on. Jerkbaits are some of the funnest baits to fish. I always compare it to fishing, or to like bobber fishing, where it's almost, instead of like watching the bobber go down, you're just waiting for that tap, and it's like the bobber going down at the same time. I love it. It's an easy way to fish in your cold water periods. Do not forget to work in different rod cadences, different length pauses. You got to find the right presentation for the jerkbait on that day, but when you do, it can be amazing fishing when other baits won't work. So hopefully this was helpful for you. If it was, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Stay tuned, we'll have a new video coming out tomorrow.